So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to locate the early morning threadfin deal, because like Ronnie was saying, the gizzard shad deal can be brought up by the sun. It can kind of happen intermittently throughout the day, off and on, off and on. The threadfin deal, though, is pretty much a specific morning thing. On a day like today when you get clouds, can it happen later? Yeah. Most days, though, because we had real thick cloud cover today all day. Most days, especially in May, because it usually starts getting pretty hot and sunny, most days this threadfin shad deal is going to last an hour at the most, usually. But it's a way where if you find it and you hit it, like, that hour can be enough to carry you through the rest of the day, whether you're a tournament fisherman or just out fun fishing. You go out there and within an hour, you're like, well, do we go home? Like, you know, what do we do now? It's only downhill from here. Because it's a total feeding frenzy on that threadfin deal. And it's the gizzard shad deal, like Ronnie's talking about with the big topwaters, the big walking baits, like, you don't really catch a whole lot of small fish when that's going on. Like, you won't catch a 3-pounder or a 2-pounder very often doing that. The threadfin deal, you'll catch 2-pounders, you'll catch 1-pounders, you'll catch 3-pounders, and then all of a sudden you'll catch an 8-pounder. So it's more of a numbers deal. There's more numbers involved in this. It's a little more fast and furious. The shad are there in bigger numbers. There's more of the shad. They're in bigger groups. And it's a lot of fun. Like, it's just, I love dealing with clients because you pull up to a point, if you got it right, you pull up to the right point, man, you might catch them every cast for about 20 minutes. So let's talk about how to locate that and what do I look for and how do I find that. Wind is important. You need wind. I don't think you absolutely have to have a whole bunch of wind on the threadfin deal. It's not like a crucial thing. You can have it without it. It definitely happens better when you get like a 7 or 8 to 12 mile type of wind. You know, just rocking, not coming over your bow, not crazy, but just a good chop, I think, is best. The birds are a big deal for this. They can absolutely clue you in because those herons and those egrets will both eat the heck out of them threadfin shad that are about that long, which this is what we're talking about. When we're talking about threadfin shad, we're talking about shad that are 3 or 4 inches long most of the time tops. You will find some bigger than that, but not much. So basically you just drive down the lake and you look at every little point on the main lake. And it doesn't have to be a big point that stretches way out into the lake. It doesn't have to be a big flat spot extending off the bank. It can be a very subtle point. These threadfin shad kind of move around all over the place. They follow plankton big time. And they can pull up on any point on any given morning. So you drive around and you look at the point, whichever side the wind's blowing on the best, just look at those points. And if you see 4 or 5 of them crane-type birds, white egrets and blue herons, everybody know what I'm talking about? Yep, okay. If you see 4 or 5 or even 2 or 3 of them birds on that point, you pull in there. Like, it's literally that simple. And if you make 5 or 10 casts and you ain't caught a fish, you go to the next one. But usually if you see several of them birds on that point, like, it's pretty close to a surefire deal. Like, it doesn't really happen without it. I like to get in areas that have a lot of points. If I can, that gives me options, right? Does that make sense? I can kind of cover more points in a smaller area, be more efficient. So I get a look at more points. There's more opportunity for them to pull up on those points and do their thing. I have seen them spawn on bare bank. Basically, the golden rule is if you have some wind ripple and you have multiple cranes, don't overlook it. I've been driving into a creek arm one time, planning on throwing a frog in the morning. I looked on just a flat, do-nothing bank, and there was 4 blue herons standing there. And we pulled over there, and we didn't stop catching them for the first 30 minutes. We caught them every cast. So it can happen kind of randomly anywhere with these threadfin. 9 times out of 10, it's on the point, though. And that's really, it's that simple to locate them. It's not something you have to like be real experienced fishermen with. You better know the lake pretty good if you're going to run outside of them boat lanes to look for them. You know, don't take no chances. You know, get in an area like, you know, I always refer to the mouth of Little Caney when the shad spawn is going on. And here's why. There's so many points. And not just the mouth inside, but the outsides. Y'all know what I mean when I say the outsides of Little Caney? Like, the mouth of Little Caney basically has 2 long peninsulas that come out, right? And then you got the east arm and the west arm of the lake that go up either side. Well, on that east arm and the west arm of the lake, on that outside bank of Little Caney, there is a gazillion points out there. And no matter what the wind direction is, one side of it's getting it. Like, either this side's getting the wind or this side's getting the wind, the way they're shaped. And even if you just have to idle, like everybody know where Alligator Point is? It's right there on the outside, right down at the very bottom, located on the outside of it. You can start at Alligator Point and just idle. If you don't know, and you don't know where you can run in there and where you can't, you can start right outside Alligator Point, look for birds, and just start idling. And within 15, 20 minutes of idling, you can literally see 10 points. And down there, as many fish as live down there, odds are one of them points is going to have some cranes on it, and they're going to be shad spawn on it. Especially if you got a southeast, which we have a lot as we get towards summer. As we go on in May, we will have a lot of southeast wind. That's kind of our trade wind here, if you will, the south-southeast wind. We'll have a lot of that throughout this month. Should anyway. I don't know, the weather's been so weird this year. Maybe we don't. But that's how you locate them. So is there any questions on how to find the threadfin shad spawn?
Got a question. Which type starts first? The threadfin or the gizzard shad?
The gizzards start first.
Which one ends last?
If you read the science books, I think what Ronnie's talking about, like what he said, is like not a spawn deal. And I'm not trying to contradict Ronnie in any way. He's got more time on this lake than I do, really, because he's a guide here for many years, long before I ever started. I think he's talking about a deal where it's kind of a random deal where big fish maybe push some shad up on a point in the summertime or whatever. The spawning of the gizzards, man, about to sneeze. Whew. Springtime allergies, great trait for a fishing guide, let me tell you. The spawning of the gizzard shad starts earlier and it ends sooner, in my opinion. And if you read the science books and what the people that are above my pay grade say, it does. I personally think gizzard shad spawn is winding down. That's my personal opinion. Now, I'm not saying they won't push them gizzard shad up on them shallow points, because I absolutely believe what he's saying about that. I have no reason to doubt that. But as far as like them being on that point a lot of time every day, like the northern half of the lake, you're not really seeing that like you were a few weeks ago. The southern half of the lake, you're still seeing that. Like we pulled up on one today after lunch in the afternoon, and it was a full-on gizzard shad spawn, and we were up there catching one big topwaters. So that deal was happening in the afternoon. Now that was down right at the mouth of Little Caney, the same area we were just talking about. It was actually on Alligator Point. That was where we were. But I think that deal's winding down. It's not happening as often and as frequent as it was. Supposedly by the science books, some gizzard shad will actually start spawning in 52-degree water. So that's what the book will tell you. Now I think, watercolor, different things probably have some influence on that. Just like bass. I've seen bass spawning in 55-degree water here, and I've seen them not spawn until it was over 60. So, it's always a little different. There's no absolutes in fishing. That's what I always like to say. Any more questions on locating spawn before we move on to a different topic? Is there any technique that you guys want to hear specifics on? I wanted to kind of leave it open to you guys. There's a lot of different ways to do it right now. We're fishing a lot of different baits, and so I wasn't real sure which one to kind of pick from. Is there anybody here that got anything in mind they want to talk about?
Swim bait question.
Yes, sir.
When you get a bite, do you let them take it, swallow it? You set the hook real hard? I think you probably do on those, but when you get a bite, what do you do?
Okay, that's going to depend if it's a line through or if it's a weedless bait. And here's the general rule of thumb that I tell a lot of customers on a day-to-day basis when we're fishing different type baits. It depends on how the hook is rigged in the bait, on how you set the hook. If there's a treble hook on a line through, right, or treble hook on a crankbait or a jerk bait or a rattle trap, how do you set the hook? You kind of reel into it and turn, right? I mean, you pull, but you don't jerk. That's what I do with the line through. And I can count on one hand how many fish I probably lost on the line through. It just doesn't really ever happen. So with that treble hook on there, and that bait's going to swing away from it as soon as they pull back on you. So they'll bite it and they'll knock a lot of slack, and I just keep reeling. Like when I feel that bite, I just speed my reel up real fast, as soon as I start to feel weight, I turn. That's all I do with the line through. Now with the weedless rig bait, when I'm reeling and I feel that bite, I'm going to reel up on my slack, feel for the weight like you do on a Texas rig, and I'm going to step back and I'm going to lay the hammer to them as hard as I can. Especially on a swim bait, because you got an 8 or 10 aught hook and it's a single hook, you got to drive it home. The general rule of thumb is the thicker gauge your hook is, the harder you better swing. You know what I mean? Like if you've got a 5 or 6 aught flipping hook or a 5 or 6 aught hook on a jig, you swing the hammer. But on a treble hook, those individual shanks that you're trying to penetrate their mouth with are a lot thinner. So that's why we just kind of reel into them. and they're smaller. So we just reel into them.
You think the spawn's about over?
The bass spawn?
Yeah, bedfish.
No, I think they got. Excuse me, I apologize, guys. I think they got thrown off this week, the last few days, by the water doing this.
In February and March and April.
Yeah. I mean, they've had a rough go of it with the water level changing a lot. But I mean, I think more over the last week and a half, we've had more elevation change in the water column than we've had all year. Like as far as in a short period of time, like right before that Elite Series tournament started, they dropped the heck out of it because we had all that rain coming that night, and then it went up that night. Okay, so they opened all the gates, and then they closed all the gates at 1, and then it went way up. They tried to leave 1 open, and more flow kept coming in because we got so much rain, and the lake jumped up even more. Then they opened them all, and it went down, and then now, right after it, it went back up, and now it's going back down. Like,
I'm going to come back up in the morning.
yeah, and see when it went up, like last week when it went up, like a day or two after, because it went up and it kept going up, there was like a whole wave of fish that went boom and jumped on beds. And that Saturday when they were off, when the Elite Series was off last Saturday, we stroked them on beds that afternoon. The sun came out, it got calm, and we went to bed fishing, and we worked them over. I mean, we caught them on beds.
So they're still in beds?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're definitely on beds. Definitely on beds. No, it's not always easy to see them because of the watercolor stuff right now, but they're definitely on beds for sure. And then this week, some of the bed fish that I had on, it was like, I had them on the day, like this one day, I saw them on beds, and then it rained real hard and the water jumped up again, and then all those fish that were on beds, they just left. Like they just, they were there the afternoon before, but the water level changed. Now, they probably got back on that afternoon, and I haven't really gone back to looking because we've been doing so many other things that are working right now. But I don't think it's over. When's the next moon phase? Does anybody know next new or full moon? How far out is it?
On the 20th.
The 20th, and what's today?
Yeah.
That I think that'll be the last significant wave. I think there'll be another wave pull up on that one because the water temps are still in the low. Some of it was in the 60s today.
Yeah.
Some of the water was 67, 68, 69 degrees today. So I think we still got another wave coming that's a pretty good, decent wave that you could sight fish on.
On the south end.
Yeah, on the south end, yeah.
Is that where most of them are?
That are left spawning? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, on the south end of the lakes where the spawning fish are. You know, on the north end, there might still be some spawning, but you ain't seeing them.
Not really.
You know, I don't think there's very many, and you're not seeing
I
them.
don't think you're going to see a whole lot this weekend either. Where the water is.
Yeah. You know, but it's not much dirtier than it has been. It's dirty, but it's not any dirtier than what it's been for the last couple months, really. You know, it hadn't changed much. It just stays dirty because we keep getting rain. Yeah, I think by the time we get to June, it'll pretty much be done. We're basically just one moon cycle behind what we normally are. We've kind of caught up now. We're only about one moon cycle behind. Normally, this last moon cycle would have been the last significant wave.
I was hoping it would be done like yesterday for tournament fishing.
No, I hear you.
It hurts bringing in.
I know a lot of guys are ready for the.
Have 10-pound sack and get the beef.
Yeah. No, I understand. It makes things different for sure.
Makes it a challenge. That's the best part.
All right. Any other questions or topics y'all want to talk about?
What are you doing with your punching? You finding enough grass on the south end of the lake to do that?
No, I'm doing that on north. I'm doing that north. I'm going to the backs of the creeks. The fish I'm catching punching are the fish that were spawning 2 months ago.
All right.
The March spawners. They're not even fry guarded anymore. The deal is there's some brim starting to spawn. And that's a good pattern too. That's something we can talk about 2 weeks from now. Because by the time we get 2 weeks from now, in fact, that's what I will talk about 2 weeks from now will be the brim spawn and how to capitalize on it, how to catch them. But I'm actually catching a couple of the big brim while I'm punching. So there's a lot of brim under these mats. And I think these big females that went up there and had this hard spawning cycle and they're all tired and kind of thinned out, lethargic, I think there's nothing better for a big female that lives in the backs of the creeks or lives on the northern half of this lake where she's got a lot of grass and she doesn't have access to deep water, right? She doesn't have access to that.
Suck some of that grass and waits.
Unless she travels a long way. I think she pulls up under those hard shaded mats, those really thick, dense mats. The densest, thickest cover you can find. And there's some thick stuff in the lake in some areas right now. I think they pull right up under that and they just sit there because they can sit still in one place and rest and food just comes by them, and they just, and you know what a punching rig is? They're sitting under that mat, and that punching rig goes, and they just go. I mean, you're playing catch with them. I might be flipping a mat in 5 foot of water, and the way I know when I get a bite is when my bait only falls a foot under the mat. You don't really feel the bite. Sometimes they hit it real hard, and you like feel the bite. But right now, when we're punching, we throw it in there, and that bait goes through, and it just stops. And you're like, that's not supposed to stop right there. And you pull up, and it feels heavy. You're like, is that grass? And then it goes, and you set the hook. And when you get dialed into it and you get good, as soon as it stops, you just set the hook.
Use a snail knot on a flipping hook.
That's the best way to do it. I'm throwing a big 65-pound braid, and I just trust a polymer real good with braid. Like a polymer's just a knot I tie. You know, I'm always in a hurry with customers. I'm always trying to get, if I'm retying something, I'm always trying to tie it real fast. And a polymer knot's easy to tie, and with braid, I just never had it fail me.
I like that snail knot with that bobber stopper because it'll throw that hook out just like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It does throw the hook out, and that's good. But here's the deal. Have you tied any kind of knot when you're flipping grass with a 7.5 foot broomstick and you got braid and you're 20 feet from the bait? Have you ever had a problem getting the hook in the fish? No matter
Not
what.
too much, especially with that snail knot.
I mean, no matter what knot you tie, you're not going to miss a hook set. With that setup from that distance, it's not like you're not going to get the hook in them. So, I mean, a snell knot, is that better for flipping? Yeah, because it kicks the hook up. Technically, yes, it is. I get it. I get the mechanics of it. It's better. It takes longer to tie, and I just tie the polymer on braid, and, you know, we really don't have a problem hooking them when we're that close to them with that kind of
I had a
gear.
day up in Birch one time, though, that I missed about 5 or 6 fish and flipping willows like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said the heck with it and started tying that snail knot, that bobber stopper, and I caught every one of them.
Really? I mean, yeah. Hey, you know what I like to say? You know, people ask me about color all the time. Well, is this color better than that color? I'm like, man, color really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, hold on. Color doesn't matter until it matters. It doesn't matter until it matters. And the fish tell you when it matters.
Yeah.
And that day the fish told you that snell knot mattered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But most days, will it matter? Probably not when you're that close to them. Probably not.
What's your favorite bait for, or favorite baits for bed fishing?
I use, there's one that I use a lot. It's one that you can't buy, unfortunately. But what it is, it's a Strike King Rage Menace. But it's a home poured version that's a little bit bigger, so it holds a bigger hook. And that's why I like it, because I don't want to throw anything less than a 5-aught on these big fish out here when I'm bed fishing. But a couple other baits that are real good is, you know, some of these baits that are real good, because you want them to be compact. Like, that's the deal about a bed fishing bait. To me, it needs to be as compact as you can get it. It's some of the best compact baits with the best action won't hold a big hook. Like a Zoom Speed Crawl is a phenomenal bed fishing bait, but you can only put a 3-aught hook in it.
Nice.
Yeah, and so on a lot of lakes, I love it, and I throw a 3-aught hook. I'm not throwing a 3-aught hook on a 12-pounder on a bed out here. I'm not going to do it.
No.
You get that fish from me to that staircase, and that sucker goes to running. He'll open that sucker right out when you're that close to him. So for that reason, some of those baits that I would use, I don't. It just needs to be a compact creature bait, and I like it to swim a little. I like it to do this a little bit. That's why I like that Rage Menace. That's why I like the Zoom Speed Crawl. The Rage Crawl is a good bed fishing bait. There's the Guggen baits. If you guys know who the Guggen Squad is, the YouTube boys that are taking over the world of fishing without anybody really knowing that's happening. They make actually some really, really good baits, and they have one called a Bandito bug that, in my opinion, might be the best bed fishing bait I've ever seen. I mean, like, them baits are the real deal. They got some good stuff, and that Bandito bug's real good. And if I could get my hands on some, that'd be the only thing I threw on the bed. But they're hard to get a hold of. You can't really buy them around here anywhere.
Well, like I say, the spawn's about over anyway.
It's about over now anyway. Next year I'll have some. I promise you I'll have some of that Bandito bug. I'll throw that a lot next year on beds.
You use an EWG hook or just a standard offset?
I'll always, if I'm flipping, whether I'm flipping a bed, whether I'm punching grass, or even just target flipping, if I'm flipping, I want the old straight shank J hook. I want the biggest bite I can get. You know, that EWG kind of points back at the eye. I want something that points like this. I want as big a gap between my line and the hook point as I can. And the other thing too is when I'm up close, when I'm bed fishing, I'll push that hook through to where that tip's just about poking out, or is kind of poking out a little bit when I'm bed fishing, because they'll nip at it on that bed.
Yeah.
But when I'm punching or flipping heavy cover, I'll bury the hook in the center. I had a guy ask me that today when we started punching. I'll put that hook right in the middle of that bait, bury it as deep as I can in the center of that plastic. And the reason why is, like we talked about earlier, you're 20 feet from the fish, you got braid and a big rod so you can get him out all that cover. But when you got all that going for you, the way your setup is, getting the hook in them ain't a problem. I want that hook buried in there so it doesn't poke out a little bit and grab that grass that I'm coming in and out of, or the willow bushes, or whatever I'm flipping heavy cover wise. I don't want that hook point getting exposed and catching my stuff and keeping me hung up and getting snagged all day. And it's not an issue for me to pop that. When you're setting the hook from that close, that hook's coming through that plastic when you set it. So, anything else? Anybody want to talk about finesse fishing? I don't think there's anybody from California here. We don't need to talk about that. I don't know. Dick, you want to talk about finesse fishing? That's my boy taking care of me when they're bringing me tissues and I'm talking trash to him. That's how you know we're friends, though. I give him a hard time. Man, it's an awesome time to be fishing. Whether it's Lake Fork or whether it's any other lake, May is... people, I get asked a lot what the best time of year to come is. People want to know when's the best time to book a guide trip, when's the best time to come to Lake Fork. And the deal around here in the region that we live in is, man, do we catch some bigger fish in March and stuff like that? Yes, we do. Absolutely. But, buddy, we catch some giants every year in May. And on top of them giants, we catch more numbers in May than we do any other month. Like, you can catch them all different kinds of ways. I mean, do you realize that what we talked about tonight? Think about this. We talked about deep cranking, flipping in a few feet of water, and topwater baits, and sight fishing. Like, that's all going on right now. When you start computing that, you're like, I can pretty much just go do whatever I want to and catch fish. That's awesome. Like, it's so much fun out there right now. So, man, get out and enjoy the resource. It's not as good as it should be for me because of the rain. All the elevation change, the rain, all that stuff, all the depth of the water column changing a lot is keeping things a little bit more inconsistent than it should be. I would tell you this too, if you're fishing this weekend, when you get to the month of May, I did a video on this a couple years back, do not wait. Don't be like, man, they're here. I grind them out, they're going to bite. Buddy, I promise you, when you get around them fish and they're biting, you'll know that quick. There's no reason to sit there and grind out bites because you're confident there's fish there. There's some fish biting somewhere on the lake. Like stick and move.
So you're saying if you don't get a bite within the first few, keep going?
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you're pulling up on main lake structure or something like that, if you're pulling up on main lake shallow points or a shad spawn point or deep water point, deep cranking, like if you don't get a bite real quick, go to the next one. Or go to something else. Go to something completely different. Like if I pull into a cove and I start punching and I ain't got a bite in like 15 minutes, I'm gone. I'm out of that cove. Or if I go frogging in the back, if it's cloudy or it's early in the morning and I go frogging in the back of one of these grassy pockets, if they ain't biting in the first 10 or 15 minutes, we're moving. Like when they're there and they're gonna bite, like real quick right now. These fish that are biting to eat. They're feeding. It's not a deal where it's hot summertime and they're just lazy and they don't. It's not.
So do you believe if you catch one, you should stay?
Yeah, absolutely. This time of year. Yeah, if you catch one, there's probably more there. It's pretty rare that you catch one at a time right now in an area right now. That's pretty rare. Yeah, if you catch one, there's probably gonna be more. At the same time, if you catch one and then they just quit biting, there's just no reason to sit there and waste your time because there's so many other things to do. There's so many other areas of the lake that can produce right now. You're better served going to the next spot. The time that the 30 or 45 minutes you spent trying to grind out another bite or two, you could have uncovered 3 new spots and maybe one of them you find you catch 20 in, because that happens right now. Uh-oh, she's giving him the look. I got him in trouble. I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to get you in trouble. I'm threw that sucker right up under the bus right there. But yeah, no, it's my general theory on that is if they're moving a lot, you need to move a lot. If they're not moving a lot, you don't move a lot. When the majority of the fish are spawning, I will take my time and go real slow and methodical because those fish are stationary. In the middle of wintertime, I will take my time because the fish are more stationary. But in the post-spawn and going into early summer, when they're moving and they're chasing, I'm moving and I'm chasing. Fall, same deal. When they pull up in there and they start moving and chasing bait in the fall, I'm moving and chasing a bunch. It's not uncommon this time of year for me to run, 20 spots in a day. For me to put the trolling motor in and take it out 20 times a day. That means I'm moving spots 20 times a day. And you think about that next time, that's a lot. I mean, you got to fish real quick. I mean, if you fish for 8 hours, that means that you're moving spots 2.5 times an hour. I It means you're never fishing any one spot longer than 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And sometimes we'll buckle down for 45 minutes because we're catching them. So you think about it, I mean, there's some stuff we're on for 5 minutes and we're gone. And it's hard work fishing, but I mean, it's the way to do it because you can. I'm just looking for that collision with a whole bunch of them at once right now because it can happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions? Some people look like they're about tired of listening to me talk. Y'all about tired of listening to me talk about fishing? I'll do it all night. You better shut me up. Y'all better tell me to stop. Well, we'll wrap it up for the camera and everything. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys coming. Like I said, new faces tonight. Thank you guys very much. Hope y'all join us again 2 weeks from now. We'll be back. Tell all your friends, man. We love to talk to as many people as we can. I tell you what, 2 weeks from now, we will. I don't know what we will do yet, but we will do some giveaways. So you and your buddies get up here. We'll give some stuff away. I don't know what it'll be, baits or something, but we'll do some giveaways 2 weeks from now. We'll talk about the brim spawn, and I'm sure Ronnie will probably still be talking about decranking.
We're gonna have a draw boat.
A draw boat? I don't even know what a draw boat is. That's like some old tournament thing. What's a draw boat?
That's when you get a ticket for a free boat that they give away.
We're not going to give away. I don't know what we're going to give away, but unless Nautical Mile goes crazy and loses their mind, Nautical Mile Marine down there in Tyler, who I deal with, unless they lose their mind, we're not giving away a boat. So I guess never say never until I talk to the guys down there. But no, I don't think we're giving away a boat. Man, no. Like I said, thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate all you watching out there. 6-inch fishing makes the best hard baits in the game, in my opinion. I do it every day. I depend on them to put the fish in the boat for me. And we want to tell you guys thank you. So that's kind of our way. 10% discount, your Lake Fork Guide promo code on the checkout screen at their website, 6inchfishing.com. If you need some help finding some spots to fish, check out the Fish Life app. Everybody know about the app? Everybody knows about that. Fish Life app, waypoints, fishing instructions. Good, y'all know about it. Half of y'all probably got it. So really appreciate that.
Fish Life app.
Now y'all got to hear about it again. I tell you what, I know these guys all know about it. We'll talk in just a second.
Okay.
I'll tell you about it. It's a really cool deal. Yeah, I'll quit rambling. Thank you guys for coming. Thank y'all for watching. See you next time right here. Your Lake Fork Guide.